absolutely have seen people of all ages jumping into this, and a lot of the more senior age folks of our world have really often jumped into this with great enthusiasm and excitement. And sometimes they need a little help, but they learn it and they adapt, and they do really, really very well. And so that's really fascinating to see, just the overall spread of ages. However, I can also say that when we look at our average ages across the board for BSF Online compared to our regular classes, there is like about a 10-year age difference where they tend to be 10 years younger. So the online element seems to attract younger people more as well. Another aspect of that may be too that the younger people especially, I think, are very, very busy, and it's hard to fit in a Bible study. And offering BSF Online as we have has been a great opportunity for them. Now it's possible. They can squeeze it in where they have an extra hour. They don't have to drive to the church and back. And that's an attractive element for them as well.
So just kind of appealing to the how it best works for the individual, but also not having a bias that one demographic is going to be more inclined towards tech than another. That's what I hear you say. Bill, just out of curiosity, last time I visited North Point, it was a pretty young church. So, but you had some less than young people there in the mix as well. But how is this? How have you seen this in your environment?
Well, it was interesting when COVID came. We pivoted pretty quickly, and we had over 90% of our groups go online immediately. So I'm with Thom. I think the older demographic has been able, and let's be honest, because of work environments, many of them are having to engage on Zoom or on Google Meets or on Skype or something else, and many had already been doing it. So the pivot was pretty easy. And then we just tried to provide as many digital tips as we could to help, that process. But that happened in March, and it happened pretty effectively because people were already using the technology.
Yeah, that's good. Good, Amber. Would you add anything to that, or you see the same?
I totally echo that. We had almost all of our family groups, which is like our Sunday school group format, go online immediately when things kind of transitioned. I will say we maybe had 2 to 3 of our senior adult classes that did not immediately go online, but the majority of them did. And so for those particular groups that were a little bit reluctant for whatever the reason may be, we created an additional senior adult class led by our senior minister, who facilitated the class and just invited them to join. So it was kind of like, if you don't want to necessarily own your own senior adult class, we'll provide a way for you to connect online. And we still maybe have a handful of people during that time that continue to just check on each other via phone, text messaging, that kind of thing. But we did provide an opportunity for people to connect if they didn't want to facilitate the connection on their own. For our younger groups, we've seen a lot of them connect online. I will say, and I've mentioned this, so sorry if people have heard me say this before, but we started trying to figure out a way to be inclusive of the children in the small group format so that they were not a barrier to the experience for the parents. And I saw someone in the chat say, well, what do you do? Because, we rely on childcare and children's ministry opportunities for our younger families to engage. And that's just what we did. We tried to figure out a way to have the kids reading the verses or the kids to answer a question here and there so that the parents could actually include them in that entire time together and not feel as if, they had to come up with some other option for that. So we've pretty much seen all of our groups get online, and they're going strong. And it's been amazing to see, I think we were wrong in assuming that some of our senior adults would just write it off. And they proved us wrong, and they showed up full force, and they've been some of our champions for staying connected online.
Well, it is a good reminder that the computer actually came in when the oldest edge of the baby boom was in the workforce. So Bill, your comment that this has just been in the work environment, regardless of your age. Computers have been with us since the 1960s and 70s. So some of the biases we have about age, we of all people living in the era that we live right now should put all biases aside.
I have an 83-year-old, I think she's 83, mother-in-law, and she's on her tablet, she is on her computer, she's texting, she is engaging around Zoom. So, I just think it's remarkable to see how easy our devices have become. And once you get through that initial barrier of just the unknown, it's clear sailing.
Guy in my church I led back in California was the co-patent holder for the 5.5-inch floppy fabric. Remember that thing? The computer, if he was alive today, he'd be over 90 today. So again, a great reminder. In fact, Amber mentioned something here. If anything, the demographic that might struggle the most in navigating this new arena is those with small children, because they have to figure out what to do with the kids on their own, and even having a babysitter come over to the house in many environments is just not an idea people are comfortable with. So sometimes we have to coach our younger, in our church, sometimes we have to coach our younger families through how to do this, shift your group to 8 o'clock at night after the kids are in bed, or as Amber mentioned, incorporate the kids. But it's just, I think as we wrap this portion of the discussion up, it's just a great reminder for all of us to lay biases aside and then deal with problems or barriers as they come, and not make assumptions about one age division or another. Especially as I get older, I don't really care for discrimination against the older population. So, well, let me move on to, we're talking about this leader identification and recruitment. What about training? How have you had to pivot or change your training of your group leaders? And Amber, let's start with you on this. How are you incorporating, maybe it's technology and training, maybe it's some other method? How are you training your people in this era?
So we spent a lot of time just making sure that our family group leaders and then also our life class leaders feel comfortable accessing the platform. We initially started out offering, a list of different ways that you could connect. So Zoom, Google Meets, all those different things. But we found that most people gravitated towards Zoom. And so we were happy to embrace that as kind of a specific way forward. And so we engaged some of our church members that were just already technology experts in their own kind of realm. And they provided some opportunities for people to log on and learn all of the basics and essentials about hosting on Zoom. And so we are so thankful for them providing that assistance, because, it's one thing to do it ourselves as we're all navigating and figuring things out, but we had a host of people that were already actually using Zoom before Zoom became a thing. And so they were able to really give us that, experience firsthand. We also continue to provide our usual training, and we normally do that through meetings with our discipleship team, where we're just continuing to pour into them the way that we normally would as they continue to shepherd and lead groups and classes. So one of the things I thought was most beneficial, we actually hosted a hybrid meeting when things were a little bit safer. We had some people come on campus, and then we asked the rest of those who were not ready to return to campus to join us online. And we actually demonstrated what that looked like, what that felt like, and allowed people to give us feedback on how that felt for them so that they could prepare to be able to explain things to their class participants. And then we also just encouraged them to let us know, does this seem feasible for you? Is this something that feels like something you want to try? If not, how can we support you? So that is something that we focused on. I think really just giving people a chance to explore and navigate and make mistakes together is always very helpful.